Hello and welcome to my channel. If you enjoy crochet and ghost stories, then you have hit the jackpot. We're going to go ahead and begin a story that takes place in Savannah, Georgia. It's called The House on Victory Drive. There are so many ghosts in Savannah houses. They have a union, one resident said. It sets up what houses they can haunt and what hours. Out in the country, though, they are still on their own. Even in such a place, one large white two-story home on Victory Drive is unusual, with its stately front columns and tall protective azalea bushes. It is not just one presence, but stories of at least 5. The house was built around 1900, one of the first lots laid out in the Baldwin Park neighborhood. At the time, the unpaved street in front was still a still avenue, the southern border of the city. It was later named Victory Drive after World War I. Legend says that a palm tree was planted on its grassy dividing strip of land for every county soldier who died in France. Said to be the world's longest palm-lined road, it is a place of handsome homes, wide lawns, and spectacular floral displays in the spring. The present owners of the home at Victory and East Broad Streets are Mr. and Mrs. Jim Nettles, who have lived there since the early 1960s. From the summer they moved in, Melba Nettles told us during a visit to the house, unusual things have happened. The first month, we were alone in the house. The children were in Florida. Jim was upstairs painting the front bedroom. Suddenly, we heard footsteps coming up the stairs and down the hall. Then the knob of the door turned and the door opened. But there was no one there. In the library downstairs, she added, some of the books and bookcases have belonged to a former owner. She thinks that might be why her little son Jimmy said one day, "Mommy, turn on the light here so the man in the chair can see better." Jimmy was precocious from the time he was a baby, she told us. He was talking at 6 months and with complete sentences by the time he was a year old. Once, when I was playing with him in the bathroom, he pointed into space and said, "See the other mother and the baby?" I carried him to the mirror thinking that was what he meant. "That mother and baby?" I asked before our reflection. "No, no." He shook his head, pointing at another side of the room. The most famous presence in the house is one in which the Nettles call the Judge, since the house was once owned by a family with the same last name as a local magistrate. They believe it was the judge who was seen by Jimmy in the library. They also think they heard his footsteps on the stairs until they got an elevator. From the beginning, the elevator seemed to have a mind of its own, moving from floor to floor, apparently at will. We would leave it on one floor and find it on another for no reason at all, said Mrs. Nettles. They had the elevator mechanism checked, as well as the wiring in the house, and even the foundations for anything which might be causing their unusual effects. No explanation could be found. The elevator was most annoying when it moved alone at night, according to the family. Finally, it seems, Mr. Nettles had to make a house rule to whoever was listening that it was not to be run while he was trying to sleep. Since then, things have been considerably more peaceful. On 2 separate occasions when I went down the stairs, the elevator would go up, said Louis Kincaid, a family friend. One morning I found the newspaper in the house and open. I was the first one up. The sound of the piano also was heard, with no one near the piano. One night the Nettles returned home from a party to find their maid sitting on a bench in the upstairs hallway. She held a newspaper in front of her, though she was obviously not reading it. When Mrs. Nettles remarked that there were softer chairs downstairs, she explained that she had heard footsteps walking continually up and down in the quiet hall. She felt that she could be upstairs closer to the children, where she could watch their rooms. Footsteps have also been heard in the kitchen early in the morning, and the cheerful rattle of pots and pans, as though someone were preparing breakfast. This is all in an apparently empty kitchen. The sound of a swinging door between the kitchen and the butler's pantry can also be heard. Sometimes lights appear in dark rooms, showing under the closed doors. A pool table on the sun porch after a game will have the balls lined up in 2 neat rows with the 8-ball in the pocket. Rocking chairs move by themselves, especially in the library. This also happened in the house after a large Thanksgiving dinner, as though others were also present. From the time the Nettles moved in, there have been incidences where one would think the other was calling and answer. "I didn't say anything," would come the reply. This also happened to Kincaid. He reported, "At first, I thought someone was putting me on." I'm not necessarily a believer, but I do know that 3 electrical contractors looked at that elevator to see what was causing it to move by itself, he said. Also, some of the house light switches wouldn't work, and then later, for no good reason, they were fine. Another unusual story has been told of the attic, where the jacket of a West Point midshipman has been found in an old trunk. The story goes that one night, for no apparent reason, it was found stretched out across the trunk. Nearby was an item from another trunk, a wedding gown. Mrs. Nettles, a calm, kindly person, is a member of the Theosophical Society. She believes young Jimmy had psychic powers as a child, which he has since lost because he preferred not to develop them. I really feel that some tragedies have been connected with this house, she concluded. I feel that the bedroom where we hear the footsteps and the doors open or the light goes on belonged to a young man who was killed in the war or died at an early age. I also believe a young woman and child died here in the early part of the century. I think death is a part of life, and it is very possible to me that afterwards the spirit of a person continues to live on. After we say goodbye, I asked Stephen what he thought of the house. Well, I think the Nettles are right in that there are about 5 presences here, he said. The man in the chair in the library, who likes the elevator, the young man, the young woman and the baby, and the older woman getting breakfast, who likes the rocking chair. I wouldn't care to live with that much going on, but the Nettles seem happy there, and have accepted the judge like a family friend, he added. Oh, one more thing. There was definitely a presence in the attic when we were there, and it came down the stairs with us afterwards when we were in the upper hall. Just thought you'd like to know. At first, we didn't want any publicity about our presences, Melba Nettles told us, but then we decided, what difference does it make? It's our home, and we plan to go on living here. One thing, we feel safer from burglars now, since several stories have been done on the house. I hope you enjoyed today's story and got a little spooked. Savannah is full of the strange, and I'll be reading more stories from beautiful Savannah. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. I will be uploading more videos to come soon with more crocheting projects. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.